All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to see exactly how shifting alliances and a rapidly crumbling empire lit the fuse for World War I. It's a messy story, full of overlapping borders and fierce rivalries in southeastern Europe and the early 20th century. But it's an absolutely crucial story for understanding how a regional conflict dragged the entire globe into war. Years before the globe was plunged into the total devastation of the First World War, Chancellor Otto von Bismarck made a bold and honestly kind of chilling prediction. He claimed the next major European conflict would start because of, well, some damned foolish thing in the Balkans. And as we're about to see, he hit the nail right on the head. By 1912, the situation in this area was just so volatile that it had earned a pretty ominous nickname, the powder keg of Europe. Throughout this explainer, we're essentially going to watch this powder keg get packed tighter and tighter. You've got overlapping territorial claims, fierce national pride, and the looming shadows of these massive competing empires. Seriously, it was only a matter of time before something set the whole thing off. Section 1. The First Balkan War, taking on the sick man of Europe. For centuries, the Ottoman Empire had controlled this entire region. But by the early 1900s, they were weak. They were literally being called the sick man of Europe. Well, seeing this weakness, 4 small neighboring Christian nations saw a golden opportunity. They figured this was their chance to finally expand their own borders and, free their fellow Christian populations who were still living under Ottoman rule. But to actually pull this off, they needed to work together. So in 1912, Bulgaria, Greece, Montenegro, and Serbia formed a really formidable military alliance known as the Balkan League. In October of that year, they officially declared war on the Ottomans. And guys, what's truly remarkable here is how shockingly effective this combined force was. The great powers of Europe, they fully expected a long, drawn-out conflict, but the Balkan League, they had other plans. The League moved with incredible speed. They pushed the Ottomans right across the map, literally to the gates of Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, in just a matter of months. By May 1913, the war was over. Under the Treaty of London, the Ottoman Empire was forced to surrender nearly all of its remaining European territories, keeping just this tiny little strip of land. It was a massive, historic victory for the Balkan League. Section 2. The Second Balkan War. The Backstab and Retaliation. Okay, look at the timeline here. The crucial point is the absurdly brief gap between May and June of 1913. The Treaty of London was signed in May, and by June, the Second Balkan War had already begun. There was basically no honeymoon phase. The victors immediately started fighting over how to divide up their new lands, specifically the highly contested region of Macedonia. The alliance just completely evaporated, almost overnight. So here's how it all broke down. Bulgaria firmly believed they had contributed the most military effort during that first war. And because of that, they were deeply dissatisfied with their share of Macedonia, which was mostly being occupied by their former allies, Serbia and Greece. So Bulgaria took a huge gamble. On June 29, 1913, they launched a surprise attack on Serbian and Greek positions to just seize the territory by force. But this rapid-fire escalation backfired spectacularly. Serbia and Greece actually held their ground. And then the retaliation began. Talk about dramatic irony. Virtually everyone in the region piled on to crush Bulgaria. Montenegro immediately backed Serbia. Romania, seeing a perfect opportunity, invaded Bulgaria from the north to claim border territory. And in a stunning twist, the Ottoman Empire saw an opening to get some payback, joined the war, and actually managed to recapture some of the territory they had just lost. Surrounded on literally all sides, Bulgaria was completely crushed. Section 3. Redrawing the Balkan Map. Massive winners and big losers. With the Treaty of Bucharest signed in August 1913, the Second Balkan War officially ended, and the map was completely redrawn yet again. Serbia emerged as a massive winner, nearly doubling its territory and population. Greece was also a massive winner, gaining southern Macedonia and the major port city of Thessaloniki. Bulgaria? Well, they were the big loser. Bitterly humiliated, they lost their Macedonian claims and had to cede land to Greece, Serbia, and Romania. Oh, and we also get a brand new nation, Albania. It was created as a compromise by the great powers specifically to prevent an increasingly powerful Serbia from gaining direct access to the Adriatic Sea. But note this.
Even with the great powers creating Albania to block their ocean access, Serbia's nationalistic pride was now at an absolute boiling point. I mean, they had fought 2 wars in less than a year and emerged twice as large and incredibly confident. And this newfound confidence meant Serbia was now looking outward, driven by this fierce desire to unite all South Slavs under one single flag.
Section 4. Triggering World War I. The powder keg explodes.
Okay, so these 4 distinct elements acted like tightly packed gunpowder in our regional barrel. First, you have that booming Serbian nationalism, aiming to unite South Slavs, including those living inside the neighboring Austro-Hungarian Empire. Second, you have Austrian fear. Austria-Hungary looked at this aggressive, expanding Serbia and viewed it as a literal existential threat that had to be crushed. Third, the Russian-Serbian alliance. Russia drew a line in the sand, vowing unconditional military support for Serbia. And finally, Bulgarian bitterness. Bulgaria held a grudge so deep that when World War I eventually broke out, they eagerly joined the Central Powers of Germany and Austria-Hungary just to attack Serbia. So the barrel was full. All it needed was a spark. And that spark came in June 1914, less than a year after the Second Balkan War ended. A young Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria in Sarajevo. Because of the incredibly tangled web of alliances, resentments, and military buildups forged during the Balkan Wars, this single assassination detonated the entire geopolitical powder keg. Within weeks, the whole globe was dragged into the unprecedented horrors of World War I.
Bismarck was entirely right about the damned foolish thing in the Balkans. A regional squabble over territory driven by nationalism and pride was the catalyst that changed the world forever. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought as we look at our modern geopolitical map today. With shifting alliances, intense national pride, and overlapping territorial claims still dominating our headlines, where is the world's next powder keg waiting?